Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem HaKadosh. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of the elect. This lesson, just going into sleep. You have many different, or a few different meanings for the word sleep. You have sleep where you go get some rest, and I'll just read from the Wiktionary.org. This is sleep. I'll just read this out. And just going into the different translations or the different etymologies for it, says to rest in a state of reduced consciousness, meaning that you go to bed at night, you take a nap. Here in the, in this kingdom, you sleep with someone, you getting down with them, you sleep with a woman, like that, laying down together. To accommodate in beds, to be careless, inattentive, or unconcerned, not to be vigilant, to live thoughtlessly. They have the. It used to be, the slang before became super woke. It was like, man, you sleep. You're not paying attention. You're not woke. Before that was commandeered and made into the word that it is today. It was more of a derogatory term to be called woke now that has been hijacked. But well, let's see. To be careless, here we go. To be dead, number 5. To be dead, and that's what I'm gonna be focusing on. On this lesson, Lord willing, is edifying and straight to the point, and yeah, to be dead. So another word for being asleep is to be dead, in the grave. Your spirit has left your body. You gave up the ghost. So here I'm going to start at this is Job chapter. I don't know why it does that sometimes. Anyway, I'm going to start at Job chapter 3 and verse 11. And this is Job speaking. He's grieving because Job is, while he was a real person, but his account is the account of the elect. We have to go through hell, everything being taken away from us, or everything being turned against us, being tried, and at the end, you're going to receive a greater reward than what you started off with. All tears will be wiped away. But this is Job chapter 3 and verse 11. Why died I not from the womb? Why did I not give up the ghost when I came out of the belly? So Job is asking, like, why isn't he? Because he's going through so much hell. He's asking, like, why was I was just born to just go through this? Like I would, like, why didn't I just die from before I was even born? Like when I was born, like just gave up the ghost so I wouldn't have to go through this. Why did the knees prevent me? Or why the breast that I should suck? For now should I have lain still and been quiet. I should have slept. Then I had been at rest. So to sleep. Let's look at this word for slept. H3462, Yashan. And let's see here. Here it says to be slack or languid, i.e. by implication sleep. Figuratively, to die, also to grow old, stale, or inveterate. To make to sleep. So it says to sleep, to be asleep. But going in, like it says, to sleep as to die. You're really resting. Then should I have been at rest? And H5117 Nawak, which that's Noah. Going into Noah, that's being having comfort. Because then he's saying, if I would have died, I would have been at rest. I would have been comforted then. So for now, should I have lain still and been quiet? I should have slept. Then had I been at rest with kings and counselors of the earth, which built desolate places for themselves, or with princes that had gold, who filled their houses with silver. So it's telling you, Job is telling you, through his lamenting, that if I had been asleep, if I had died, I would have been at rest with kings of the earth, princes, those who had ruled the world and built up places, or as in hidden untimely birth, I had not been, as infants which never saw light. So, speaking of the heavens, or heaven, there the wicked cease from troubling, and there the weary be at rest. There the prisoners rest together, they hear not the voice of the oppressor. The small and great are there, the servant is free from his master. So, speaking of heaven, because all humans, when we die, our spirits go up into the heavens. Everybody's there. The small, the great, the kings, the righteous, the wicked, they're all there. There's no place called hell. Everybody goes to the heavens. And this earth is the place of judgment. We receive our sentence, whatever we did, and what our life is going to be like when we come back, and then it's played out here on earth. So, again, speaking of heaven, there the wicked cease from troubling. Hey, everybody's chilling in the heavens. You're getting some rest, some true rest, not like how you find here on the earth. So this is Ecclesiastes, so like 3 and verse 18. I said in my heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that the Most High might manifest them, and that they might see that themselves are beasts. Because here on the earth, without the law, statutes, commandments, we're like beasts. It even goes into the other nations are like beasts because they don't have Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. This is what the law, statutes, commandments, that's what separates us from the other nations. That's what separates the living from the dead, because Yahweh Bashem Yahushai's laws lead to life. But continuing on, well, let me start over again. Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 18. I said in mine heart concerning the estate of the sons of men, that the Most High might manifest them, and that they might see that they themselves are beasts. For that which befalleth the sons of men befalleth beasts. Even one thing befalleth them, as the one dieth, so dieth the other. Yea, they have all one breath, so that a man have no preeminence above a beast, for all is vanity. So King Solomon is comparing, us humans to beasts, to animals, because we all got this one thing in common. We die. But what separates it, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai gave the Israelites, out of all the groups of people on the earth, the law, statutes, and commandments. That's what separates that nation from the rest of the people who are like beasts. And when Yahushua returns, a death is going to be put out. So there's going to be even more separation, because the rest of the people, all the people that aren't Israelites, they're still going to be subject to this. They're still going to be subject to death. They're still going to go off. They're not going to have the law, statutes, and commandments put within them. But this lesson is about death and dying. So Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verse 20. All go unto one place. All are of the dust, and all turn to dust again. So us, this people, animals, we're all made up of the dust of this earth. And when we die, we return back to the dust. Who knoweth the spirit of man that goeth upward, and the spirit of the beast that goeth downward to the earth? So the spirit of man goes upward into the heavens. Like it says in Job, there we get rest. The spirit of animals, the spirit of beasts, they just return back to the earth and reincarnate. They're born again here on the earth, through the other animals. But the humans, we go up into the heavens. Our spirit goes up into the heavens. This is keep wanting to say Ecclesiasticus. This is Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and I'm reading at verse 7. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was. Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return to the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, who gave it. So our spirits, these aren't our own. Everything belongs to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. And everything has been given over to his son Yahushai. He is the heir. Everything is under his jurisdiction now. Jurisdiction. So everything is under his dominion now. But all our spirits, these aren't our own. Our bodies aren't our own. Everything belongs to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. So then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto the Most High, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, who gave it. So that's what happens when we die. We go up into the heavens. We receive our judgment. We come back to the earth. Live out that judgment. But this is just referring to sleep, death. This is what happens. There's no places hell. That's no place such as hell. No such thing, I should say. No such thing as hell. There's no little red men in overalls and tridents or pitchforks, burning for eternity. None of that. That's just a made up doctrine. This is John chapter 11, and I'm going to start at verse 11, and I'm just going to read. This is John chapter 11, verse 11. These things said he, and after that he saith unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. So one more time. These things said he, and after that he saith unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. So this is Lazarus was dead, which, jumping the gun a little bit. But this is Yahushai, he spoke the way he spoke in parables, and he really spoke over everybody's heads, and a lot of things that he was saying, and some things he had to just plainly say it. So let me get this here. This is for sleep. This is G2837 Koi Mao, to put to sleep, to slumber, figuratively to decease, to sleep, to be dead. So it says here at the bottom also, to metaphorically, to still, calm, quiet, to fall asleep, to die. So, he's dead. He's at rest. And Lazarus would have been resting. His spirit would have been resting up in the heavens. So again, John 11 and verse 11, these things said he, and after that he saith unto them, our friend Lazarus sleepeth, but I go that I may awake him out of sleep. So let's do that word real quick. G1852 Exi Penizo, to awaken out of sleep. So he's saying, I'm going to go wake him up. Then said his disciples, Lord, if he sleepeth, he shall do well. So they're not understanding, disciples not understanding Yahushai. He's speaking over their heads. It's like, well, if he's asleep, like he's good. We can let him sleep. They're thinking that he's actually, head on the pillow, catching some Z's. Howbeit, Yahushai spake of his death, but they thought that he had spoken of taking of rest in sleep. So let's look at that. G22, this is for death. G2288, Thanatos, says death of the body. That separation, whether natural or violent, of the soul and body by which life is on earth is ended. So we went into that, just a few minutes ago, the separation. Your spirit goes upward from your body. Your body returns to the earth, and your spirit goes upward. Anyway, let's look at that. Taking rest. G2838 Koi Mises says sleeping, repose, lying, and reclining. So they thought he was talking about like he was sleep kicking back. This is also for sleep. G5258 Hypnos, which say you have hypnotism, putting you to sleep, things like that. So hypnos, just going into sleep. John 11 and verse 14. Then said Yahushua unto them plainly, Lazarus is dead. So let me see here for plainly. G3954 Parousia, and it says freedom in speaking, unreserved in speech, open frankly, without conceal, or i.e. without concealment, without ambiguity. So he's not speaking. He's not speaking to them anymore. In parables and this and that. He's saying it plainly. Lazarus is dead. And that's actually how do you say it? It's one of my favorite to read, just to see Yahushua, in his mannerisms. Like you see him, like he normally, will speak in code. He'll speak. He's a king, so he's speaking in parables and speaking over your head. But in this, he's just like they don't get it, and he has to say it plainly. And I just like the bluntness of it. Like, look, he's dead. like something like when you visualize these things, like as serious as it is, but it's like it. I don't know, just the frustration of the situation. You kind of when you imagine it, because in this whole thing, Yahushua is frustrated with his people. So let's see here. That word for dead. G599 Apothnesco says to die off, literally to be dead in death. It says of the natural death of men. So this means you dead. Like he died. And I'm glad, verse 15, and I'm glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent that ye may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him. So he's saying, I'm glad for your sakes that I was not there. Because if he was there, he's saying when Lazarus had died, he would have raised him up from the dead then, but they wouldn't have believed him. So he's glad that, now he's going to go bring him back from the dead so he can show them, so you can see it. Because you wouldn't believe it otherwise. You got to see it. And Thomas is mentioned next, because he was the one that, unless I see, matter of fact, let me see here. Let me grab that real quick. And let me just jump to this real quick, and I'm going to go back. This is John chapter 20 and verse 24. But Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Yahushua came. The other disciples therefore said unto him, we have seen the Lord, Yahushua. But he said unto them, except I shall see in his hands the print of the nails, and put my finger into the print of the nails, and thrust my hand into his side, I will not believe. So this is Thomas, the same that's mentioned in the verse that I'm going to go back to. He had to see it to believe it. So what happens? And after 8 days, again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Yahushua, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst, and said, peace be unto you. So they were chilling in the house, all the doors are shut, and Yahushua just appeared. And this is after his his death and resurrection. So Yahushua had already been dead, buried, rose again, and making people, how do you say, his followers have been seeing him. And Thomas didn't believe it. But here it is, he appeared. So, and after 8 days, again, his disciples were within, and Thomas with them. Then came Yahushua, the doors being shut, and stood in the midst and said, "Peace be unto you." So he said, "Shalom." He just appeared and said, "Shalom." Then saith he unto Thomas, "Reach hither thy finger, and behold my hands, and reach hither thy hand, and thrust it into my side, and be not faithless, but believing." So he's like, "Look, you said you wouldn't believe unless you touched it. You put your fingers in my side. You touch the nail prints. Look, don't be an unbeliever, but believe. Look, you've seen it with your eyes." And Thomas answered and said unto him, "My Lord and my power." And he saith unto him, "Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed." So because you've seen it, what I'm going back to, because you've seen it, you believed it. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed. So again, Yahushua saith unto him, "Thomas, because thou hast seen me, thou hast believed. Blessed are they that have not seen and yet have believed." So that was it. Just you read these scriptures, you imagine them, you believe. You use your imagination, you play the scenarios in your mind, you extrapolate, and you really believe, you visualize these things happening. You really believe these things happening because they did happen. And we don't have the evidence, we don't have no video recordings and stuff back then, but these things happen. We believe it. The true followers of Yahushua and Mashiach, and we believe these things happen. But it doesn't just got a little sidetracked. But John chapter 11 and verse 15, and Yahushua speaking, "And I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent." Let me start at verse 14. Then said Yahushua unto them plainly, "Lazarus is dead, and I am glad for your sakes that I was not there, to the intent ye may believe. Nevertheless, let us go unto him." Then said Thomas, which is called Didymus, unto his fellow disciples, Let us also go, that we may die with him." Then when Yahushua came, he found that he had lain in the grave 4 days already. So by the fourth day, you start, which I'll just keep reading. Verse 18, "Now Bethany was nigh unto Jerusalem, about 15 furlongs off. And many of the Jews came to Martha and Mary to comfort them concerning their brother. Then Martha, as soon as she heard that Yahushua was coming, went and met him. But Mary sat still in the house. Then said Martha unto Yahushua, "Lord, if thou hadst been here, my brother had not died. But I know that even now, whatsoever thou wilt ask of the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, the Most High will give it thee." Verse 23, "And Yahushua saith unto her, Thy brother shall live again, or shall rise again." Salakia. "Thy brother shall rise again." And verse 24, "Martha saith unto him, I know that he shall rise again in the resurrection at the last day." So even Martha's not understanding. Like, I know he's going to rise again. I know he's going to be there at the resurrection. But Yahushua is talking about, no, right now. Yahushua said unto her, "I am the resurrection and the life. He that believeth in me, though he were dead, yet shall he live." So Yahushua is letting Martha know, like, look, I am the resurrection. I am the life. All the believers of Yahushua, even if they're dead right now, they're going to be risen up again. "And whosoever liveth and believeth in me shall never die. Believest thou this?" She saith unto him, "Yea, Lord, I believe that thou art the Messiah, the Son of the Most High, Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, which should come into the world." And when she had said so, she went her way and called Mary, her sister, secretly, saying, The master is come, and calleth for thee. And as soon as she heard, she arose quickly and came unto him. Now Yahushua was not yet come into the town, but was in a place where Martha met him. And I'm just gonna jump down, try to get to the point, just for time's sake. Verse 37. And some of them said, Could not this man, which opened the eyes of the blind, have caused that even this man should not have died? So they're showing their unbelief. They're showing their lack of faith. You know, they're saying, "Oh, didn't this? He opened the eyes of the blind, and he couldn't save someone from death." But meanwhile, this is Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, showing signs, showing wonders through Yahushai for you to believe. Yahushai, therefore, again groaning in himself, cometh to the grave. It was a cave, and a stone lay upon it. And Yahushua said, Take ye away the stones. Martha, the sister of him that was dead, saith unto him, Lord, by this time he stinketh, for he hath been dead 4 days. And Yahushua saith unto her, Said I not unto thee, that if thou wouldest believe, thou shouldest see the glory of the Most High? So they're thinking like, oh, he's already been dead for 4 days. His body's already decomposed and it stinks. But Yahushua is saying, like, look, if you believe, if you believed in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, you'd be able to see his glory. That it doesn't matter how long you've been dead, your body been dead, decomposed, or whatever. That the Most High Yahweh Bashim Yahushua can bring you back to life. Then they took away the stone from the place where the dead was laid. And Yahushua lifted up his eyes and said, Father, I thank thee that thou hast heard me, and I knew that thou hearest me always, but because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. And when he thus had spoken, he cried with a loud voice, Lazarus, come forth. So he called Lazarus up out of the dead. He commanded his spirit to come back in him. And he that was dead came forth, bound hand and foot with grave clothes, and his face was bound about with a napkin. And Yahushua say unto them, Loose him and let him go. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Yahushua did believed on him. So the point being that he that was dead came forth. Let's look at that. G2348, the Nesco, said to die. So he was dead and he came back to life. His spirit returned back into him. And he was alive again. So I'm going to close out with this. This is 1 Thessalonians, First Thessalonians chapter 4. And I'll start at verse 13. But I would, 1 Thessalonians chapter 4 and verse 13. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep. That's to be a koimao, G2837, to be dead. So, but I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not. Let me read one more time. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren. But I would not have you to be ignorant, brethren, concerning them which are asleep, that ye sorrow not, even as others which have no hope. So those outside of this truth, you ask any Christian, what happens when you die? They think you either go to heaven or hell. They think, the kind of judgment that you get, the kind of ways that you might die, they might think, oh, he's going to hell because of the way he died or something like that. Meanwhile, they don't know. They have no idea. They can't tell you. But those followers of Yahushua, if you've been taught, you should know what happens when you die. That your spirit goes up into the heavens, your body goes down into the returns to the dust. That you receive judgment, and if you died in Yahushai, you've got a reward waiting for you. You know, in the time to come. You know, just know that you resting in the heavens. You getting some rest. For if we believe that Yahushai died and rose again, even so them also which sleep in Yahushai will the Most High bring with him. So those that died believing in Yahushai, hey, they're going to be returning with Yahushai. They're going to be there. They're waiting, asking how long. You know, they're cheering on the hopeful elect. Verse 15, for this we say unto you by the word of the Lord, that we which are alive and remain unto the coming of the Lord shall not prevent them which are asleep. So those that are already dead, that have died in Yahushua, that died in his name, that died believing in him, and they're going to be raised up first. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout. So Yahushua, he's going to come down, he's going to come with the chariots. All eyes shall see him. There's going to be a booming trumpet. Everybody's going to know that this is Yahushua. And with the trump, so for the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout, with the voice of the archangel, and with the trump of the Most High, Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, and the dead in Hamashiach shall rise first. So those that died in Yahushai, there's going to be the first ones to be raised up, to go into the chariots. You know, the body's going to be brought back to life, and they're going to be raised up first. Then we, which are alive and remain, shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai in the air, and so shall we ever be with Yahweh, with the Lord. So one more time, then we which are alive and remain shall be caught up together with them in the clouds, to meet the Lord in the air, and so shall we ever be with the Lord. So those that are in these last days that are still going to be here on the earth, going through Jacob's trouble, you know, when these ICBMs hit, they're going to be beamed up into the chariots, and it's going to be the greatest family reunion ever. But the point of the lesson was, those that are dead or asleep, you know, they're in the heavens. This is just a transitory phase. You know, we here for a little bit, we die, we go up into the heavens. You know, just a little rest. But that's it. Hey, Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm gonna give all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the 144,000 and the rest of your elect. Hey, Shalom.